Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And to celebrate the 80th anniversary of D-Day, Wargaming are doing one of the most generous things they've probably ever done. And that is allow you to be able to get not one, but two Tier 6 premium tanks, some of the best ones, completely for free. The choice is up for grabs of the Britannia Panther, Tiger 131, the awesome TOG 2-star, or even, for the very first time ever, the Cromwell Berlin. And the Cromwell Berlin is one of the best Tier 6 mediums in the game, not to mention one of the most fun ones. Over the next 3 weeks, you're going to be able to earn yourself 90 tokens. Each tank costs 45. You can get 45 from following along with Wargaming's D-Day map inside the garage. And you can also get 45 from watching World of Tanks streams, including mine, every Monday and every Friday. So in theory, if you just watch my streams, you wouldn't even have to play World of Tanks and you could get yourself one of these free Tier 6 premiums. But now you might have a dilemma. Which one do you choose? Well, today, Reboot from the Asia server is going to let you know why they think it should be the Cromwell Berlin. And yeah, spoilers, I think that this is the one that you should pick as well. At least one of the two that you could be able to pick. And that's because the Cromwell Berlin is definitely the most competitive out of all of the vehicles that you're going to play. And while it's not just the most competitive, it's also the most fun. This thing is absolutely wild. It goes at 64 kilometers an hour, and that's before you manage to boost it up in any shape or form. It has wild damage per minute at nearly 2,100. And when you get a gun rammer or even vents on this vehicle in addition, man, this thing just absolutely chomps through its opponents. And also, for all of the gold noobs of you out there, 202 millimeters of premium penetration means that even when you get into a terrible matchup, which Reboot isn't in today, then you can still manage to just go through Tier 7 or even Tier 8 tanks with that kind of gold pen. So the Cromwell Berlin is just this raw firepower vehicle. It has its mobility turned up to pretty much 9 out of 10, that's including Tier 6 light tanks. Being like a 10 out of 10 on the scale. It has its firepower probably tuned up to at least a 9, if not a 10. There aren't that many Tier 6 tanks that I would rather be sitting in front, or I would rather not be sitting in front of. Maybe something like an SU-100 with its alpha damage, but I tell you what, after that SU-100 is fired, I have got lots of opportunity to be able to deal with them. However, the Cromwell Berlin is going to be relentlessly firing at you time and time again and hitting not exactly like super hard, but 135 alpha damage. It's not bad at all. So Reboot has decided to use a rotation device with a gun rammer and coated optics on this tank. Now, I like that from a gun handling perspective. As you can see, the bloom on this tank is quite large, and so by using the rotation device, you can manage to reduce that inside the mobility slot by 12.5%. That's because this tank can't use vertical stabilizers. It's the one-up on this vehicle, the Comet, although premium tanks don't really have one-ups in a way, unless there are new ones released the next year at their same tier, but that's a little bit controversial, right? But from a tech tree perspective, this is just a carbon copy of the Cromwell, but having that extra premium capacity to be able to make credits to afford to fire a few more gold rounds, or alternatively just benefit from the immense amount of crew training that you'll get in this tank can allow you to accelerate your medium tank crew progress. So the Cromwell Berlin has just had so many amazing times with me over the years. It's definitely one of my best vehicles. And I can tell you also that this tank is amazing in a platoon. If you just want to like blow off some steam with a few mates, you've got the mobility to go and like rush a flank, and you've got the firepower once you get there. If there's 3 of you to take apart anything, you could literally fight anything, even kind of like Tier 8 tanks in a platoon of these vehicles. And as long as you get around the fact that they don't have much armor and that they struggle with regards to the amount of hit points that they have, if you can just stay alive and share the hit points between each other, yeah, your DPM is going to be outrageous. Once you got this thing like fully equipped, if you're using a premium consumable, I wouldn't be surprised if you're cutting close to like 2,800 damage per minute on this vehicle. And so if there's 3 of you, yeah, that's destroying multiple mouse a minute. Although you never have to meet a mouse in this vehicle, and probably good luck still trying to go through a mouse with 200 millimeters of pen. Wow, I just noticed, Reboot, your ping is quite high, 100 milliseconds of ping. Maybe Reboot is Australian and they're playing on the Asia server. I'm just guessing here. But I have to admit, the amount of lead that Reboot is having to give, oh, it's a bit painful here. And especially with the the shell velocity on this vehicle at 785 and 981 on the gold rounds. When you're trying to make these standard rounds work at decent distances, it's kind of like you want your opponents to be stationary or to be giving hopefully a good amount of lead without having a lot of ping, right? But what you're going to see in this replay is that Reboot, they're not... I wouldn't claim that they are the best of players, but what they're going to do is have an exceedingly great result, and they're going to work to their strengths. And that is a strength in itself. The amount of players that I see in World of Tanks who aren't kind of like humble enough to make tanks work that work for them. And I think I have to include myself in the matter. Recently, I've been trying to make the bat chat work, and for some reason, I just can't. I can't bring myself. Maybe it's because I'm too active inside the game, and I can't bring myself to play passively and just chill at the back and to try and like wait for those opportunities to dump in those mags. The game definitely feels very different in 2024 as to when I first managed to play the bat chat and play those infamous bat chat platoons. Boy, do I miss them. But honestly, there is a strength in a Cromwell Berlin at just auto-aiming in close quarters combat and using your mobility. Or just like, yeah, see, look, for example, you know, Reboot is going to do a lot of auto-aiming in this game. And that works at tier 6, especially in a tank like a Cromwell, when you use your mobility to be able to avoid your opponent's damage. Unfortunately, Reboot unable to avoid the damage of the IKV. And so that's why I think this is such a cool opportunity from Wargaming for so many people to get the Cromwell Berlin for free, is that because of that mobility, it's a tank that isn't going to just be the best in players who have incredible precision-based accuracy. It's not going to be for like the super unicorns out there. Although, trust me, the super unicorns will do very well in this vehicle, especially if they get a bit liberal with those gold rounds, and then they use the immense firepower and mobility that this thing has to pretty much outplay the entire battlefield. But also, the tank is just great for casual players who want to just have the extra mobility to be able to get into position maybe after they should have been getting there because it's so fast, and also to have that mobility in close quarters combat inside a nice matchup like this to really surprise their opponents. So Reboot has already managed to get themselves a Top Gun, but now this is why I wanted to feature this replay. They're going to show you quintessential Cromwell Berlin gameplay. Auto-aim at the softly armored tank and just keep holding down that mouse button. And you'll be surprised at how many players towards this tier just don't really have kind of like that micro. And we see that the Cromwell Berlin on the enemy team probably looks like they're auto-aiming as well. But it looks like Reboot is going to get the better of the Cromwell Berlin. Some nice close quarters combat gameplay here. The Achilles is going to miss on the enemy team. And the sheer amount of pressure that Reboot is going to put on their opponents is what's going to keep them alive. Although now they're down to a one-shot, but that's a Radley Walters medal, boys and girls. Reboot now picking up 8 kills, and there's still, gosh, 6 vehicles left on the enemy team. How much further is Reboot going to go? It's pretty much Reboot 8, their team 1 so far. They're literally keeping their team in this one with 600 hit points difference and no kills difference. If you take Reboot away from the equation, this game would have been a blowout in any other regard. So Reboot is definitely showing me up right now, right? Saying, oh, QB, you said I wasn't like the best of players. But I'm trying to say this because the Cromwell Berlin is just absolutely fantastic for the average player and the casual player to have incredible games towards the mid-tiers. And while I'm not telling you if you come and tune into my stream and get the Cromwell Berlin for free over the next 3 weeks, that you're going to have like 9 or 10 or 11 kill games, maybe there'll be a couple of you out there, and you'll have to upload the replays, and I can go and see in the glory and bask in your glory of how it must feel, right? But the tank is just great for just driving around and derping. And it's a tank as well that nobody says like, oh, the Cromwell Berlin is overpowered. And I guess that's because it doesn't really have the most overpowered armor. It doesn't really have incredible alpha damage. But it's still absolutely deadly. And the fact to this day that it's still packing one of the best win ratios at tier 6, where there's a lot of very powerful tier 6 premium tanks inside the game, really shows you just how awesome this vehicle is. Statistically, this tank, I don't believe it has changed since it first went into the game in 2012. And boy, I fell in love with it in 2012. And I tell you what, Reboot is making a lot of people fall in love with it right now in 2024, as they have managed to pick up 10 kills in this game. And there's still 4 players left. How much further can Reboot go? Oh, Caster's Curse, as unfortunately 2 vehicles fall on the enemy team. This is just a monster game of World of Tanks. Reboot making those 99 hit points last, trying to see if they can catch the artillery here. The artillery actually shotguns a Hellcat towards the latter part of this battle. And looks like Reboot is going after the Panzer IV now, expecting the artillery is going to perish. But actually, the artillery manages to recloak, avoid the FV304 shell, and will Reboot be able to pick up their 11th kill this game? Oh yeah, they will. And I have to admit, after watching this replay, I think I might have to get like a rotation device on my Cromwell Berlin. But I'll probably only use that for city maps, because I can't really feel myself dropping the vents for coated optics. Although, to be fair, Reboot also did this free to play. They didn't use any premium consumables apart from the automatic fire extinguisher, which didn't go off this game. This was about as free to play as it gets, with Reboot only dipping into the gold rounds after they finished slamming it with those standard shells. So the Cromwell Berlin gets a firm thumbs up from me, and I think this is one of the best opportunities ever to be able to get not only a fun but a very competitive premium tank completely for free that will then allow you to make lots of credits and lots of crew training. However, if Glass Cannon free to play British mediums doesn't do it for you, how about kind of like the full fat German heavy? This is Tiger 131, and we see that Zero Sum Game is not playing this one cheaply. Premium consumables across the board, mostly gold rounds. You know, they're role-playing the full German pay-to-win gamer, right? But there's nothing wrong in that. And if you do want to use those advantages to be able to take on World of Tanks, then all the power to you. You'd be a fool to not try and use all of the tools at your disposal whenever you're playing any kind of a game, right? So a complete disparity here. We had free-to-play Cromwell, we have pay-to-win Tiger 131. This tank is great, absolute beast. It's got amazing rate of fire, it's got a huge amount of hit points, especially if you end up using a durability device on this vehicle, which I would thoroughly recommend if you're going to be playing on those kind of city maps. And it's iconic. Tiger 131 was the first reason that I went to Tank Fest in 2012, right? Even before I started streaming, or possibly like, I think it was the week after I started streaming or something like that. I think the first time I streamed would probably be middle May 2012. So yeah, this is my 12-year anniversary now. As I mentioned yesterday on YouTube, I'm kind of pre-uploading these videos, so I'm not entirely sure which days they're going to be coming out. But the Tiger 131, where when I first got behind this, I had a bit of a kind of like an oh yes moment, right? I got very close to it. Back in 2012, Tiger 131 used to just come out. It didn't have its own special day, and I'm not saying it doesn't deserve its special day. It definitely does. And I think the Tank Museum are doing a great job with trying to spread out the interest to other times of the year as well, which is important. And I think it's well worth going to the Tank Museum just to see Tiger 131, as Tank Fest is selling out later on this month, right? By the way, I don't think I've announced on YouTube, but I am going to Tank Fest. There will be a meet and greet on the Saturday and the Sunday. I think it'll be at like 11:30, strictly limited to 100 people. So I don't want people to have to be queuing for most of the day to be able to see an idiot like me. But if you're going, obviously go to see Tank Fest, don't go to see me. But if you're there for the entire weekend, if you're there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday, or Friday and Saturday, for example, then yeah, probably if you fancy coming and saying hi, I'll be there for a couple of hours near the Wargaming booth. More details on my social media if any of you actually take a look at that occasionally. But you can scroll back, I think I announced it a few weeks ago. But I'm really looking forward to seeing hundreds of you there again. It's always, or I should say 100 each day, right? Although I'm fairly sure I'll see a few more of you. I do feel like a museum exhibit sometimes at Tank Fest. I think this will probably be my like 10th that I've gone to, excluding kind of like those COVID years, right? So I digress. Let me focus back at hand on what Tiger 131 is all about. And it's great for this kind of side scraping. The frontal armor is not fantastic. What this tank is all about is the gun, DPM, and its hit points, which is one of the reasons why I do recommend that you use a durability device on this vehicle to try and amplify one of the tank's definite strengths. This tank just does honest work. It really does. It usually has alpha damage to outtrade equal tier tanks. It's unusual for equal tier tanks to have higher alpha unless you're playing against something like a KV-85. But if you're playing against a KV-85, you can shoot literally like 3 times for every time they can shoot you once because of that vehicle having terrible damage per minute. And Zero Sum Game is just showing you some great plays here as to how you have to use the Tiger's armor. Angling like this still works a lot of the time because you're making it so that they really have to hit this area here when you're angled like this, and a lot of people miss. They shoot the tracks. They don't have good gun handling, and they don't have good accuracy at low tier. And so one of the biggest mistakes that I see is people think that you shouldn't try to intelligently use your armor in the Tiger. Now, it's not going to work every time, but you've got to try and just do everything that you can at your disposal to keep those hit points. And the Tiger managed to block 2 out of those 3 shells that Zero Sum Gamer received from the M4A1 FL10. A little bit of an Easter egg as well for Tiger 131. I'll pause here for a second. Is that this Tiger was actually captured in northern Africa, and the reason why it was captured is because a shell ricocheted off the mantlet, and I'm pretty sure that they still have the damage here. It's a bit hard to see with the sun, but you see right here, that is actually not a shell that's ricocheted in this game. That is the shell that took out the Tiger 131 in reality. The shell hit the barrel, bounced off the mantlet, and went into the turret ring, and it lodged the turret ring. And the crew panicked and got out, and they were under strict instruction to make sure that they never abandoned a Tiger tank, and if they did, they had to make sure they destroyed it. But the crew left it more or less intact, and lucky us as tank fans, as now I think it's one of, if not the only, working Tiger in the world. Lucky enough for it to come out, I think a couple of times a year. Are there multiple Tiger days? At the Tank Museum in Bovington. It's always a bit weird when you say like, oh, so where's Tank Fest? Oh, it's at the Tank Museum. You think, what Tank Museum? Well, there aren't really that many, right? There's a few up and down the UK, but it's literally called the Tank Museum. You know you've got a pretty cool museum when you can literally just call it that, right? So, Zero Sum Gamer, having dominated the hill with 5 kills, now finds themselves in a 1 versus 3 scenario. They're playing against an AMX ELC BIS and 2 self-propelled guns, although one of them, to all intents and purposes, is like a tier 5 tank destroyer, right? They're playing against the Leffe, right? That vehicle has 350 damage with its heat pen if it can penetrate its HE shells, which it's not going to do against Tiger 131. It's going to be hitting for 400 odd. Luckily, that's exactly what you want to see when you're in a 1 versus 3 scenario, is one of the enemies make that 2 of the enemies giving up their positions by entering the cap circle. Although, you know, getting a cheeky cap, especially when you're playing in artillery, there's no shame in that. It might be one of the best ways of getting through the game. So Tiger 131, do I recommend that you pick this one up? Yeah, it's a good one. Personally for me, I'd definitely take the Cromwell Berlin. Tiger 131, an absolute banger as well. You really can't go wrong with this vehicle. And I think we know exactly where the enemy vehicles are going to be chilling. Didn't expect that! ELC AMX in a bush! 50-meter proxy spotting means that Zero Sum Game manages to find the ELC. The ELC bounces their 90mm off, and oh god, there's a Leffe. Get 4! Dodges the artillery shell from behind, avoids the Leffe from the front. Zero Sum Game finishes off the ELC, who doesn't have a fully traversable turret. They're kicking themselves there. I bet they wish they were using the 75mm. Finishes off the self-propelled gun inside the cap circle, and now turns their attention with 7 kills after defending that cap towards the Leffe. 1 shell goes in. Please, no RNG. 140 damage. It's still significant, but it doesn't matter. Zero Sum Game puts in 8 kills, presses that affirmative key twice in the game, and takes down a mega carry in a mega tank. Tiger 131 is a great pick for all of you history fans out there who also play World of Tanks, this is definitely the one that I would pick up with in that regard. But they aren't the only two options. The other one is the healthiest vehicle, probably tier for tier inside the game. It is the mighty TOG 2-star. I recently 3-marked this tank. That was a video that I released just 3 weeks ago. So if you want to know why I thoroughly recommend the TOG and why if you set it up correctly, it's not a meme, I would recommend checking out that video. And with regards to the Britannia Panther, it's pretty much neck and neck with the Cromwell Berlin. It's better in some regards, worse in others, but I think the Britannia Panther is oh so much less fun. But then again, if you're a history buff as well, or you're someone who just likes to have fairly dynamic medium tank gameplay with a lot more armor, as we can see here with Britannia Panther blocking 3 times as much as the Cromwell, then that might be the one for you. So all in all, this is a really cool event where you can get some really great tanks. And if you already have all the vehicles, you can get some of the best looking skins in the game for tanks like the Mouse, or the rare one for the Borsig and the E75. So a massive thank you to Wargaming for celebrating the 80th anniversary in D-Day by allowing the community to pick up some really cool things for free, and allowing me to be able to give back to the community with 45 of those 90 tokens available exclusively from streams such as mine. And to state explicitly when those 45 tokens will be available, they'll go live on Monday the 3rd of June, the 10th of June, and the 17th of June, and then the weekend tokens will go available on the 7th of June, 14th of June, and 21st of June. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you all live on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And if it's your first time trying to claim drops, then use the command drops in chat or ask for help, and I'll have put a video guide out. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below which vehicle you would choose. And the funny thing is you can choose 2 out of the 4. So which 2 of these vehicles are you going to choose? And if you've already got the tanks, which style are you hot for? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.